This most recent FSD Beta update was a rather interesting one. Unfortunately, it's not the big update we've all been waiting for, but it does bring some pretty interesting changes. The biggest of which is the removal of the speed cap. And I mean it is completely removed. You used to be able to go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, but now you can set your speed all the way up to 90 miles an hour on any street. Will the FSD Beta actually speed through city streets though? The answer to that is a surprising yes. Before we get started, huge shout out to the people who make it possible to make videos like this. A couple days ago, I purchased even more camera equipment, and I can't wait to show you guys what's in store for the future of this channel. So thanks for making it possible, and if you'd like to support my channel, please consider following the link in the description. Some may be angry at this no cap on your set speed change, and some have even called it a potential bug, which I really doubt because this is something that is pretty hard to miss. But I actually really like this change. This enables me to use the FSD Beta on roads where I otherwise wouldn't have been able to without being a nuisance to the people around me. The speed limit on Vasco Road, which is a road I commute on every day, is between 50 and 55 miles an hour depending on where you are, but traffic generally flows at 65 to 70 miles an hour. Even going 5 miles an hour above the speed limit, I have people tailgating me and even flashing their lights because I'm going too slow. I know a lot of people outside California hearing this think that's absolutely crazy, and honestly, you're right, it is. But that's how traffic works in the Bay Area, at least. I go through speed traps on the freeway at like 10 or 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, and cops don't even pull me over. Why? Because there's always other people going a lot faster. I think Tesla is one of the only companies treating people like responsible adults, and I honestly hope they continue to operate this way and give us more and more freedom to use the software in the way that we want instead of taking features away like other companies do. They could have easily put the speed cap to the exact speed limit, which could technically make it perform better, but honestly I wouldn't even use it the majority of the time. This change makes it so people use the software in more and more areas, and they can gather data and fix things accordingly. Anyways, back to this beta version's performance. I thought it'd be nice to go back to Fremont to do this test because I haven't driven there with autopilot since like beta 5 or 6. So we're going to start in a parking lot and see if it can navigate to Subway, which is pretty close by, but does require going through an unprotected left and has a difficult entry into the parking lot. You can see autopilot staying at around 15 miles an hour, even though the set speed is higher. Does a really good job of modulating the speed. I think better and better in every single update. I don't know if there's any changes in particular. It was doing pretty good in beta 8.1, but I just thought that was good to point out. All right, we have a green light at this unprotected left turn. So does the gentleman across the street. He doesn't take the right of way though. So autopilot's like correctly being extremely confused, has no idea what this guy's doing. We're stuck in the intersection waiting for this guy to go through. Autopilot takes off, lights green in the other direction. Like this was the legal proper thing to do. I myself would have just gunned it through that intersection. But yeah, autopilot handled it pretty well, I guess. Just frustrating that guy didn't take the right of way. Autopilot misses its navigation into that parking lot right there and kind of gets a little confused. So it misses the turn, and then it starts looking for another turn. So I thought this was really cool. Actually drives over the green lines and gets into the other slot, into this parking lot right here. And yeah, here we are. We have arrived at Subway. Not perfect, but hey, it made it.
You may enter the wash when it is available.
Yeah, but can autopilot figure out a car wash? No, not yet. No, it can't. Nice try though, very brave. Okay, up next is a shopping center we're in the parking lot of. So if we're gonna see if we can make it through the shopping center to the navigation spot across the street. Autopilot creeps out, actually pretty far for visibility, spots this car coming from the left and gives him the right of way. This was nice and the proper thing to do. After he clears the path, it starts moving, but the Mountain Dew truck does give it a little scare, I think. Not feeling very confident through that right turn, but understandable when there's a semi-truck directly in the way. So we have a parked FedEx truck in the road. Autopilot handles this one wonderfully. I'm always impressed with situations like this because I do think that's a rather hard problem. I mean, like knowing when to pass a car versus stay behind it. I think that's a pretty difficult issue when you really think about it, but that one is pretty impressive. Next thing that happens was not quite as impressive though. So Autopilot starts making this left-hand turn when we have no left-hand turn in the navigation route. It could have confused that driver. It didn't though. I'm glad he stayed. I thought this one was worth a report though, so I did hit that button because this is kind of abnormal behavior for Autopilot. Does a good job here though, getting in the lane to go straight. You know, you'd kind of think that the middle lane would be the one that goes straight, but it does a good job following the arrow straight through this intersection. And again, another not ideal situation here where we have a big bump coming into this parking lot. And Autopilot doesn't really slow down for it. So, I mean, it was okay, but it's just a bit uncomfortable. And this was the end of this navigation route. And here we are trying to leave the parking lot that we just entered and go to a place a little bit down the street. Pretty slow and cautious through these tight quarters in the parking lots, which is always appreciated. This right-hand turn on a red light was very nicely done, excellent creeping behavior, but now we have to make it through 3 lanes of traffic to get into this left-hand turn lane to make it into the other shopping center. So Autopilot's not fast enough. We weren't quite able to make it. So we stopped behind the bus. We still do have our turn signal on. This person behind us does give us some room, and I think Autopilot was planning on going for it, you can see, but then it gets really close, which kind of freaks Autopilot out. Autopilot continues to make the maneuver. That person gets stuck at the red light. I am so sorry, man. Awkward situation all around. That was definitely a human maneuver if I've ever seen one before. So while we're stopped at this red light, I actually wanted to kind of point out something interesting. You can see that it has the left-hand turn signal on to go around this bus upcoming, but then as soon as the bus starts moving, it cancels the turn signal and the lane change. So thought that was pretty cool that it was planning even after the intersection that we were stopped at. And this is the end of the navigation route. And here we are exiting the same parking lot that we just entered. I'm going to be going through these clips a fair bit quicker because there's still a lot to see. Autopilot doing a fairly good job through these parking lots, figuring out how to get out. It's not perfect. Like you can see back there, we stopped at a non-existent stop sign. So not perfect behavior, but for the most part, it is able to do them pretty well. Hopefully there's an update that targets parking lots in the future. That would be really nice to see. Now we are turning right onto this road. with a bush to the left, which is kind of like blocking the view of traffic. I think it does pretty good at knowing when to creep versus stay still. Like you can see here in a second, it looks like the road is open and it'll start looking like it's going to go for it. Then as soon as it sees the other car, it stops. So I think this was fairly good behavior overall. Was a little bit spooked by this Model 3 though. Kind of maybe looks like a ghost to autopilot. Cool paint job though, man. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get into some more difficult situations. Here we're making an unprotected left turn through 4 lanes of traffic. This was super surprising and really nice. Autopilot takes the merging lane, even with a vehicle approaching from the right. Didn't hit the brakes, didn't get freaked out. Like, dare I say this was perfect behavior. I really, really like this. I've never seen it do anything like this before. Generally, it won't even take those merging lanes at all if there's any cars nearby. So, bravo, Autopilot. Sometimes it is pretty difficult to figure out if the behavior I'm seeing is like brand new behavior just introduced in this software update, or if it's just kind of by chance. Because like I've shown in my unprotected left turn video, the Autopilot has a lot of variability. Sometimes it does these moves really, really well, and other times it doesn't do them as well. And that'll be on like the exact same software update. So I feel like this software update is maybe a little bit more confident overall, but that also might have something to do with it being like perfectly sunny conditions outside and great weather and all that. So really, really not sure. There was another pretty interesting situation as I was leaving the place that you just saw me driving to with a pedestrian. So you can see, well, you can't see yet, but the stop sign we're about to stop at does not have a crosswalk, but Autopilot does a pretty good job of knowing that it should stay put and not continue out in front of this pedestrian. Like, this is the type of stuff that I expect to see with the 4D rewrite or whatever, but like we've seen before in the last FSD Beta 8 update, this has actually been here for a while. Like, I don't know if maybe just certain neural networks are already running like this, like they can predict where the pedestrians are going to be, but this is not new behavior, but still nice to see that it can predict the pedestrian's path. One thing that I can say for sure has not had an improvement in Beta 8.2 is Autopilot knowing when to get into a different lane in order to make an upcoming turn. Like, we have an upcoming right-hand turn in a few hundred feet. No turn signal is on. It just now it turns on the turn signal very close to the corner. Kind of rudely, if I would add too. Like, we made this person behind us slow down. I hate when people do this to me. It happens all the time to me. No reason Autopilot should act like this. We should have been in that right-hand lane way further back. Overall, not a huge update that I can see. Maybe people have figured out something that I haven't been able to spot. But yeah, I think it's now we're just playing the waiting game until the real big update hits. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.